Let me introduce myself then, öyle başlayayım. I am Ozgehan and I was a board member of YAN from 2003 until 2006. I was the vice president for a while as well. And I am now an associate professor of European politics in Middle East Technical University at Ankara. I'm an academic, but I am also part of the European Youth Work. I am a member of Pool of European Youth Researchers of the Council of Europe, European Union Partnership in the Field of Youth. And I am a member of the steering group of the European Platform on Learning Mobility. So yes, my experience with YAN is still with me, and I am involved in youth work, but I am not, due to my age, I am not actually doing it, but I am more in the kitchen now. And I have always been interested in what we do and how we do it, how we can do it better, and what kind of a change do we create by organizing and doing what we do at Youth Express Network. So I'm specializing on impact analysis, evaluation of learning mobility. When young people go from one place to another, how does it affect their life? Because by experience, as a participant, as a trainer, as an organizer, I always knew it changes their lives, but I now am trying to research and create evidence on this positive change. So yes, YAN is still with me on my heart, and I'm trying to continue to contribute with research now. It's thanks to Eylem Çertel. I was a volunteer in GSM, Youth Services Center in Turkey, organizing European projects and work camps. And my colleague Eylem, who was doing a lot of European level youth work, once met with Youth Express Network, people from YAN. So when she came back to our office in Ankara, she was very excited, saying, I met with these people, they are wonderful, the organization is very cool. Why don't we join? And this is second half of 1990s. So YAN was only 5-6 years old when we met. And we were very excited to find an international organization that is working on similar issues that we were interested. And the funny thing is, we had a division of labor with Eylem. She was dealing more with Council of Europe, trainings with Council of Europe or projects with Council of Europe. And I was more politically active, so I was dealing with Youth Forum and the European Commission projects. So YAN, because she found it, she kept it. YAN was in the portfolio of Eylem. She was going to the projects with YAN. And every time she came back, I could see how satisfied she was and how much she learned from YAN projects. So I always had a very positive opinion. And we started to host projects of YAN in Turkey as a member. So my first time meeting with people from YAN was when we started hosting projects in Turkey, I think 98, 99. And we were organizing European Youth Festival in Turkey. So YAN came with a delegation, they sent trainers. So I fell in love with the quality of work they were doing. So I started going to more meetings as well. Eylem had to share with us. But that's how I met with YAN. In 2002, I moved to Italy. So I was living in Italy when I became a board member. And as I said, I was very active with different European level of organizations, mainly Youth Development and Cooperation, YDC. And I was a delegate in the European Youth Forum for several years. So I was in the organization committee of World Youth Festival in Panama, 2001. So I was very active at European level. So what I wanted to do was to take YAN, which was doing already very good work, high-level professional quality youth work, but also bring it together with my European youth policy, European level agenda, politics especially. Because YAN had a very, project and individual-oriented approach. Just to clarify, YAN was the only European organization which allowed individual membership, which means an individual from Macedonia could become a member as an individual. which is wonderful because most of the youth organizations or structures are targeted for organized youth. And in 90s or early 2000, this was difficult for a young person from a small town to become member of organized youth work. So I wanted to take these strengths of Yan and also combine it with the European level. So that was my primary goal, to make Yan more visible, to get Yan the recognition it deserves, and also to become members of European networks that Yan traditionally stayed away. So that was my agenda, that was my portfolio, to make Yan much more visible at European level, get much more recognition and become members and partners of networks, because I could see the potential of Yan, but I also saw how much we were missing by not becoming members of certain networks. So that was the thing. It was the bureau meeting in Florence, Italy, 2003, and the board member before me, Mario D'Agostino, spent half an hour trying to convince me because he was getting out of the board. So we had a long monologue with him. So Mario D'Agostino convinced me to become a candidate for the board, and I got elected in 2003. I don't know if the members of Yan still remember this, but we bankrupt. We were broke. We didn't have money. Yan almost disappeared. We failed to get the administrative fund, which is given by the Council of Europe for organizations like Yan to sustain its overhead costs, the rent of the office, paying for the staff, the telephone bill, the internet bill. And we didn't get that money in 2004, so we were broke. I think it was 2004, so we didn't know what to do. We had a lot of projects, we had a lot of members, but we didn't have any money. So that was the challenge. And we had to have an emergency plan, and we had to lobby, and we have wonderful members. They make donations, even individual members. I remember people who are individually member would make donations of, 50 euros from their own pocket. And I remember the Icelandic members sent serious donations. The French organization Letage gave a huge amount. So, but that was long, sleepless nights. We were always trying to make economy. When we had board meetings, we didn't have money to pay for the expenses. So we would meet in, Brigitte Ludman's house for the bureau meeting. And actually, I even moved to Strasbourg. I was writing my PhD at that time. So what I did was I moved to Strasbourg, and I would go to office part-time, free of charge, as a vice president, and work with Brigitte and Véronique. It was good. I learned French. They were wonderful hosts, and we survived. And actually, at that time, although this was a difficult time, we managed to have a lot of breakthroughs, make very important big projects, enlarge, include new countries, new members. So we didn't give up. On the contrary, we came out of that difficult times stronger and bigger and more powerful. And it was because of the work by the other bureau members, by Véronique, by Brigitte, which we worked very hard and everybody contributed. So at the end, we ended up having more members, having more projects, different types of projects. This is more or less the time we got the funding for making a research, for instance. It was the first time we got money for a research project. So it was great. And let me talk about the positive things. There are certain turning points that I really value when I was a board member and I was also a member of Yan. Participation in Summer University on Youth and Development in Molina, which is very personal to me because it was my idea. I was involved with this Summer University on Youth and Development in Molina, Spain, through Council of Europe, North-South Center, from my other networks. And I've been there as an organizer, and I've seen what a great project it is. And I knew the moment it was the perfect place for Yan. So we were having a bureau meeting in Bulgaria, Sofia, and I made some phone calls. We prepared an application, and we got accepted to be one of the partners of Summer University on Youth and Development in Molina, which is a very big project. It's global. The people come from Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Jan started to organize trainings, projects, seminars there as part of this big University on Youth and Development, which I represent. I was very lucky to represent Jan at least twice there. And last time I was there was 2005, when I was the general rapporteur of the University of Youth and Development. So as a general rapporteur, I was also proud to see that Jan was one of the main stars of this university. Every year Jan managed to come with high quality projects, very good participants, and there's our motto, inclusion, from exclusion to integration. We were really doing it because most of our participants were really either young people who were with fewer opportunities, or youth workers, trainers, organizations working with young people with fewer opportunities. You find very few organizations who have such a motto but really do it in the field. Also, one more thing, it was on my agenda to make Jan an observer member of the European Youth Forum. As the vice president, I worked hard for that. I made connections. I was part of the team that prepared the application for Youth Forum. But the role I played mostly was to convince the other members to become a member of the observer member of the European Youth Forum, because at that time, in the founders or the older generation of Jan, there was a reaction against organized institutions such as Youth Forum. They found it very politic and organized, but my position was we don't have to become like them, but by becoming observer member, we would get into networks and be more informed and have more influence. So I remember making a few presentations to Jan bureau members, Jan members, trying to convince why we should become a member of the observer member of the Youth Forum. And I think I succeeded because we managed to become a observer member of the Youth Forum. I keep saying observer because by being observer member, we didn't have to change some of the characteristics of Jan. To become a full member, they were asking for some changes we were not ready to do at that time. But I think that's another check on my list to convince Jan members to become an observer member of the Youth Forum, so that we can reach more people and become part of a youth network to exchange ideas, to have new partners, to gain from it. Just very simple reason, for instance, is our members could join the pool of trainers of Youth Forum because we became observer members. Okay, there are boards and board members, and there's Jan board. Okay, I especially even now, I have so much experience. I've seen so many bureau, executive board, president, vice president, that I know Jan board has, at least when I was still part of Jan, was different than these. For many youth organizations at European level, being a member of board is for prestige, for personal networks. It's a kindergarten training ground for future career. Yeah, but for Jan, being a board member at Jan meant a lot of work and commitment, and it was a lot of giving and not expecting anything. All the board members that I observed when I was just a volunteer, and later on my fellow board members, and after I quit, I knew some of the board members have given so much, have worked so much without expecting anything, have written projects, have traveled a lot, and never had this attitude of I'm a board member, I am so cool. No, on the contrary, people like Vima Farzan, for instance, who was in bureau for many years, we didn't even say we were bureau members. We always said, I'm a Jan member. I mentioned I used to be the vice president, but except for official meetings in a Jan project, I would never say I'm the vice president, president. These things didn't matter. We were all Jan members, and we always worked that way. I was giving you some memory. Just wait. Let us show that. Çekebilirsin. For instance, these are the cards we had as board. I still keep some of them. There is no name, no title. You know, it doesn't say Ozgehan Senyuva, Vice President, CEO, CFO. It just says Youth Express Network. And what we did in the bureau was to write our name with our hands. So any member could use the same card. It has our logo, it has our address on it in French and in English. And this is what it means to be a bureau member, a board member of YAN. You are a member of YAN, that's it. No titles, no Mercedes, no private jet. You work.
Okay.
And you get free t-shirts.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Yan. I hope our children will make videos or holograms. We don't know how it will be in the future for 50th birthday of Yan. And the stories we have, we will keep with us for the rest of our lives. And I thank Yan for writing new and wonderful stories at all time. Thank you everybody who's working there now. Now it's your turn, and I hope 10 years later you will pass the torch to other people and be as satisfied as we are now, who was there 10 years ago. Happy birthday.